216 BC, southern Italy. The Roman Republic has just gathered one of the largest armies it has ever put into the field. Around 80,000 Roman soldiers are marching toward a man they believe they can finally crush. That man is Hannibal Barca. He has crossed the Alps. He has humiliated Roman armies before. He has survived deep inside enemy territory with no easy way home. And now, near the small town of Cannae, Rome is bringing everything it has. The Roman plan is simple. Overwhelm him. Push straight through the center of his line. Use the sheer weight of Roman infantry to break the Carthaginian army in half. Once Hannibal's center collapses, the war in Italy may finally be over. Historically, that is not what happened. Hannibal turned Cannae into one of the most famous traps in military history. His center bent backward, his cavalry won on the flanks, and the Roman army was surrounded from almost every side. But now imagine something different. Behind Hannibal's line, hidden beyond the dust and heat of the battlefield, there is something that does not belong in the ancient world. Not an elephant, not a siege engine, not a secret reserve of cavalry, a modern HIMARS battery. High-mobility artillery rocket systems parked behind the Carthaginian position, linked to modern observers, loaded, waiting, and aimed at the densest Roman formation ever to walk into a battlefield trap. So what happens when one of the greatest tactical ambushes in ancient history is backed by 21st century precision firepower? Let's walk through it. First, we need to understand what HIMARS brings to a battlefield like this. A HIMARS launcher is not just a bigger catapult. It is not simply an ancient ballista with more range. It is a mobile rocket artillery system designed to strike important targets from far beyond the reach of ordinary battlefield weapons. It can move, fire, relocate, and fire again. Its rockets can hit areas that ancient commanders would not even think of as part of the same battlefield. For Hannibal, that changes everything. He no longer has to wait for the Roman army to physically reach his line before the killing starts. He can strike the Roman formation while it is still organizing, while officers are still giving signals, while the cavalry is still lining up on the wings, while supply animals and reserve troops are packed behind the front. And Cannae is almost the perfect target environment. The Roman army is enormous. It is heavily concentrated. Its strength comes from density, discipline, and forward pressure. The Romans want to hit Hannibal's center like a hammer. They want thousands of men moving together, shoulder to shoulder, shield to shield, pushing in the same direction, against another ancient army that is terrifying. Against precision rocket artillery, it is a problem. Because a tight formation that helps you win a sword and shield battle can become a nightmare when explosive force starts landing from miles away. But we also need to be fair to Rome. The Roman army at Cannae is not a weak army. It is not a random crowd of scared men. These are legionaries. They are disciplined, organized, and trained to fight in brutal close combat. They carry large scutum shields, pila, swords, helmets, armor, and the confidence of a republic that has defeated enemy after enemy through persistence. Roman soldiers are used to pressure. They are used to noise. They are used to losing men and still moving forward. Their system is built around one idea: keep advancing. If the first line gets tired, another line supports it. If the enemy bends, push harder. If the fight turns ugly, trust discipline. Trust the shield. Trust the man beside you. That is why Hannibal's historical victory was so shocking. He did not beat a fragile army. He beat one of the most stubborn military machines of the ancient world. But even the Roman system has assumptions. The enemy is supposed to be in front of you. Danger is supposed to have a direction. You can see cavalry. You can hear infantry. You can spot archers. You can raise shields against arrows. You can charge a line of men. HIMARS breaks that entire mental world. The battle begins in the morning heat. Dust rises from thousands of Roman sandals. Officers shout orders. Standards move above the crowd. The Roman center begins its push toward Hannibal's line. From the Roman point of view, the Carthaginian center looks vulnerable. It seems thin. It seems ready to bend. That is exactly what Hannibal wants them to think. Then, before the front ranks even make contact, the first rockets arrive. There is no warning the Romans understand, no visible archer line. No stones flying in a slow arc from siege engines. No cavalry charge. Just sudden impacts behind and inside the formation. The first strike lands near a dense Roman command group. The blast tears through the rhythm of the advance. Officers disappear in the dust. Signals stop making sense. Men in the front keep moving because they do not know what has happened behind them. Men in the rear hesitate because they have just seen the ground open up in a way no ancient soldier can explain. Then more rockets come in, not randomly, not like panic fire. They hit clusters. They hit movement lanes. They hit the crowded spaces where reserves are waiting. They hit the areas where Roman officers are trying to organize the push. And this matters more than the raw number of casualties. Ancient armies depend on formations. They depend on men staying in place, hearing orders, seeing standards, recognizing where the line is. Once that structure starts to break, even brave soldiers can become isolated groups of confused men. The Romans do what Roman soldiers do. They keep trying to advance. The front ranks continue toward Hannibal's center. They tighten their grip on their shields. They push forward because forward is the only answer their training gives them. But the battlefield is no longer behaving like a battlefield. Explosions are landing behind them. Dust clouds hide signals. Units lose contact with one another. Some men think they are being attacked from the rear. Others think the gods are punishing them. Others simply do not know what to think. And while the Roman infantry is struggling to understand the invisible fire, Hannibal's original plan is still unfolding. His center bends backward, slowly, deliberately. The Romans press in, thinking they are winning ground. But every step forward pulls them deeper into the shape Hannibal wants. The Carthaginian and allied infantry on the sides begin to close inward. Hannibal's cavalry fights for control of the flanks, and now, unlike in the historical battle, the Roman army is not just being surrounded by men, it is being shaped by fire. HIMARS does not need to destroy every soldier. It only needs to break timing, communication, and confidence at the worst possible moments. A strike near Roman cavalry on one wing can delay a charge. A strike near reserves can stop reinforcements from moving cleanly. A strike near command elements can leave thousands of men pushing forward without anyone clearly directing them. That is the nightmare. Rome's greatest strength at Cannae was mass. HIMARS turns mass into vulnerability. But the psychological effect may be even worse. Imagine being a Roman soldier in that formation. You understand swords. You understand spears. You understand arrows. You understand horses. You understand being tired, thirsty, afraid, and still moving forward. But you do not understand a weapon that kills from beyond sight. You do not understand explosions that arrive without a visible source. You cannot throw a pilum at it. You cannot charge it. You cannot raise your shield wall and expect the world to go back to normal. For an ancient soldier, this is not just new technology. It is a complete collapse of battlefield logic. And once battlefield logic collapses, fear spreads differently. Men are not only afraid of dying, they are afraid because they no longer understand what action makes them safer. Do you move forward? Do you spread out? Do you run? Do you stay with the standard? Do you shield yourself? None of the old answers fully work. That is what makes the first phase of this alternate Cannae so devastating. The Roman army is still physically huge. It still has thousands upon thousands of men. But the system holding those men together is being attacked before the close combat reaches its peak. By the time Hannibal's trap begins to close, the Romans are already disorganized in ways they were not in the real battle. The result could be catastrophic. Not just a defeat, a collapse. Hannibal might not simply surround the Roman army. He might shatter its ability to act as one force before the encirclement is complete. But this is where we need to slow down. Because HIMARS is not magic. It is modern, powerful, and terrifying in this setting. But it has limits. The biggest limit is ammunition. A HIMARS battery cannot fire forever. Every rocket matters. Once the launchers are empty, they need resupply. And in 216 BC, there is no modern supply chain waiting behind Hannibal. No trucks bringing more pods, no depot network, no maintenance crews with replacement parts, no satellites constantly feeding fresh targeting data, unless we include that in the scenario. That means Hannibal has to use the rockets carefully. If he wastes them on scattered infantry, he may win the opening shock but lose the long battle. If he saves them too long, the Romans may still reach close combat with enough strength to make the fight dangerous. The second limit is protection. HIMARS is not a fortress. It is not built to sit exposed while enemy cavalry rides it down. If Roman or allied cavalry somehow breaks through, or if scouts discover the launch position, the battery becomes vulnerable. Ancient soldiers cannot match the technology, but they can still burn things, swarm positions, block roads, and attack at night. A machine from the future is still a physical object. It still has wheels. It still needs space. It still needs fuel. It still needs people operating it. The third limit is information. Modern weapons are only as good as the targets they can find. On an ancient battlefield, dust, smoke, confusion, and lack of modern communications can make targeting harder. Yes, large Roman formations are easy to spot, but once the battle becomes a chaotic, close fight, the risk of hitting friendly forces increases. That means the longer the battle goes, the less clean the advantage becomes. At the beginning, HIMARS dominates. In the middle, it shapes the battlefield. Near the end, when men are mixed together in close combat, Hannibal still needs his infantry and cavalry to finish the job, and that is what makes this scenario interesting. HIMARS does not replace Hannibal's genius. It amplifies it. In the real Battle of Cannae, Hannibal won because he understood timing, pressure, psychology, and space better than the Roman commanders facing him. He used the Roman army's confidence against it. He let them believe they were breaking his center, while they were actually walking deeper into a trap. With HIMARS, that same trap becomes even more dangerous. The Romans still march in, the center still bends, the flanks still close. But now, before the jaws shut, thunder from the future falls into the densest army Rome has ever sent against him. By the end of the first day, the Roman army is likely in ruins, not because every man is killed by rockets, but because the army's command structure, formation discipline, and sense of reality are attacked all at once. Survivors would carry stories back to Rome that no senator could easily believe. They would not describe normal artillery. They would not describe Greek fire. They would not describe elephants or strange cavalry. They would describe the sky exploding. They would describe entire sections of the army disappearing before anyone saw an enemy. They would describe Hannibal not just as a brilliant commander, but as a man who had somehow brought the weapons of a god onto the battlefield. But would this win the war for Carthage? That is the bigger question. One battle, even a horrifying one, does not automatically destroy Rome. Rome's greatest strength was never that it could not lose. Rome lost battles. Rome lost badly. Its true strength was that it kept coming back. So the real question is not whether HIMARS helps Hannibal win Cannae. It almost certainly does. The real question is what happens after. Does Hannibal have enough rockets left to threaten Rome itself? Can he protect the launchers during a long campaign? Can he maintain them without modern industry? Can he turn one impossible victory into a political collapse before Rome adapts? Because if the rockets run out, history starts pushing back. Hannibal is still far from home. Rome still has manpower. Italy is still complicated. Logistics still matter. But for one day at Cannae, the Roman Republic would face something no ancient army was built to understand. Not just a better weapon, a different kind of war. And on a battlefield already designed as a trap, that may be enough to turn one of Rome's worst defeats into something even darker. A moment where the ancient world looks up, hears thunder with no storm, and realizes too late that the enemy is no longer fighting by the same rules.